Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. All right, we don't have too much to cover today, but we have a lot of good stuff to cover today, a lot of uplifting, nice stuff from the working royals. So let's just jump in and get started, shall we? Let's go. To start off with, Prince William welcomed the 2022 Earthshot Prize finalists to the UK for I guess you would call it a fellowship retreat. I think that's very nice. And, even if you weren't one of the big winners, you still got to come and discuss, because even if you didn't win a prize, you're still doing great work. I love this. All right, moving on. Next up, it's being reported that Princess Anne is going to visit Estonia Tuesday. Remember, she's the hardest working royal. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's right. Harry said it was rigged. Moving on. All right, the investitures have started again, and we have Ruth May, who was made a Dam Commander of the British Empire for services to nursing, midwifery, and the National Health Services by the Prince of Wales. Also receiving awards were Helen Worth and Cornelia Parker, as well as Gabrielle Richards, who was very happy to receive her award at Windsor Castle today. And also a posting was put up by Colonel J.H. Buxton, who received the OBE. There you go. For his services to the British Army. Congratulations, everybody. Queen Consort Camilla had a former bodyguard who they said would jump in front of a flying bullet for the royals. He is now King Charles's head driver. So, we knew that Charles was going to shake up the staff. People, they were going to be moving people around. There you go. The bodyguard's name is Mark Andrews, former Met Police Inspector Mark Andrews. Congratulations on your appointment. I know you'll do a great job. Moving on. Next up, people are still going on about the Duke of Edinburgh title. It was the King and the Queen Elizabeth and Philip, that wanted that title to go to Edward. I'm not sure what the holdup is. I believe Charles is going to do it. I think they want to wait until after the coronation. That's just my personal opinion. Moving on. All right, it's just been announced Princess Eugenie is pregnant with her second child. Lovely picture of her son kissing her baby bump. The baby is due, 3-4 months from now, apparently. Now, at Christmas time, we saw her walking into the church with the jacket on, and several people made comments that she looked like she might be pregnant then. She had obviously put on a lot of weight. Well, you are correct. She was pregnant. Personally, I happen to believe that 2 to 3 years apart is a good age. That's how far apart mine are. I once had a friend who had a baby, and she found out when that baby was 3 months old that she was pregnant again. I couldn't have done that. But congratulations, Eugenie and Jack. All right, my friends, moving on, we are back to Andrew again, because Ghislaine Maxwell is now claiming that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in jail, that he did not commit suicide. Is that possible? Yes. I believe with the Prince and Princess of Wales account here, they're covering up for the pedophile ring. Apparently, there is quite a list of notable people that went to Epstein's Island. To be fair, people were saying that Epstein was so full of himself that there's no way, he loved himself too much. There's no way he would have done that. And I don't believe the investigation uncovered anything, but, you never know. All right, now just a reminder that Eugenie Giuffre was caught perjuring herself and lying under oath. She now says she has no memory of Prince Andrew ever meeting this girl, and says that the photo that was taken of them is fake. Let us also not forget that when Alan Dershowitz fought back, she dropped her lawsuit. So since Andrew had to settle that case, he's trying to overturn the out-of-court settlement. He's trying to undo what he did. We know the Queen, of course now we know the Queen was dying, Platinum Jubilee was coming. this case was taking over the headlines. The family asked him to settle, so he did. I think he wanted to fight it, but was asked by the family not to. Now, Miss Maxwell's TV interview is going to be coming out soon, and everybody was going, oh my God, what's she going to say? What's she going to say? I don't understand at this point why Andrew would be nervous, since it appears that what she's going to be saying is all in his favor. At least it's so far. Now, you should know that King Charles has been warned if he supports Andrew in this latest legal bid, it's not going to end well. Now, I don't think he can forbid Andrew from doing what he's doing. He just can't publicly support him. I think King Charles would just like Andrew to stop and leave it where it is. But in the end, Andrew's an adult and he's going to do what he wants to do. I don't think the king has control over that. Now, a few of my subscribers had some comments about this. This particular person wrote that Andrew should just leave it alone. He's not been found guilty. He tried to clear his name before and he made it worse. And once Harry is dealt with, Prince Andrew should wait and make the most of this interlude. I happen to agree with that. And this subscriber of mine pointed out that Andrew is an adult. He's settled. He signed off on the settlement. And at this point, there's probably some sort of an order in place that if he continues to talk about this, there could be some serious repercussions. Yeah, that's also possible. In the meantime, the memes have started, the memes and the jokes. We all knew this was inevitable. Next up, Dan Wooten has jumped in on the fact that Omid Scobie is being essentially thrown to the wolves, fed to the wolves, by Harry and Meghan. And he's basically saying that the book, Finding Freedom, which we now know they collaborated on, was a pack of lies. Now, I have to agree with Sunshine Breeze. I think this is happening because Harry and Meghan have changed the agenda, which we've pointed that out before. In order to reconcile, they have to backtrack on a lot of the things that they've said. And I think that's what's happening. And now that Harry and Meghan are dialing back on the whole racism claim, things are coming to light. Like opera star Danielle Denise, I hope I'm saying her name correctly. She's a prominent woman of color in her profession, but she married into a white upper class British family that's part of the institution. She says that she found Meghan's comments very unsettling. She goes, it's not to say there isn't racism, but you don't tar everybody with the same brush. And to say a whole community is racist is untrue. She said that has not been her experience at all. Her parents come from Sri Lanka. They're mixed with European heritage. She spent her childhood in Australia. Then she emigrated to America as a teenager. She sounds like she's lived all over. She now considers Britain to be her home, and she said that she did not agree with the slurs about racism to the royal family that came from Harry and Meghan. She said, I'm mixed race. I married a man who is not in the royal family, but is still part of a big institution, and I set out to support my husband and learn about the people around me. She and her husband have 2 young children, and she's stepmother to 4 children from a previous marriage. And she said, when Harry and Meghan first came to public attention, everybody was so happy. And then she ended by saying, I guess we'll never really know where it went wrong. All right, moving on. I don't believe this. Meghan thinks that Harry is going to win a Grammy thanks to the memoir, because apparently somewhere in the memoir, well, first she said he's a natural storyteller. He has a soothing voice. And at one point, he sings a verse of Elton John's Your Song when discussing the tribute concert for the 10th anniversary of Princess Diana's death. Now, this next section is how I know this is a planted story, because the person went on to say Hollywood loves him. He's got the gift of gab and a fun sense of humor. He's the one with the star power. We all know that's not true. Hollywood has literally turned their backs on this man. And so Meghan's like, well, I hope he gets an award in 2024. And they said there's even been talk about Harry appearing on the upcoming Academy Awards as a possible presenter. Haven't we heard that before? All right, here we go. It's the Markle effect. Executive Dawn Ostroff, who was the Spotify's chief content and advertising officer who helped sign Harry and Meghan to a contract, has left Spotify. And that's right after the company confirmed that 600 people are going to lose their jobs. She said, this is interesting. In hindsight, it was too ambitious in investing ahead of our revenued growth. Well, there you go. So they invested millions and millions of dollars for this podcast for Harry and Meghan. After 2 years, nothing came out. It ended up being just Meghan. You found out later on that on her podcast, all she did was she wasn't really able to even bring on big names. She brought on friends. And then she didn't even let them get a word in edgewise. All she did was talk about herself and her victimhood. It didn't go well. So as a result, she's probably not going to be renewed for next year. And the person who was responsible for that debacle is now out. I guarantee you she did not leave voluntarily. Yeah, the Markle effect, just like Netflix's CEO is now having to step aside. How many of you guys think that was voluntary? Every single person who has signed a deal with them or has touched them in some way has had something bad happen. I mean, if that's not the universe screaming out, I don't know what is. All right, moving on. I found this person on Twitter who wrote this very prophetic because Harry and Meghan are suing everybody who takes a photo or makes any kind of claim. But of course, we now know, as I've told you in previous videos also, that if you go on their website, they collect information and cookies on you, which they then sell to third-party people so you can be inundated with ads. So they're not worried about your privacy. All right, this is really going to be the big thing we're looking at today. Everybody wants to say that Meghan and Harry are not bullies. But if you're not bullies, you don't lose 18 staff members in such a short amount of time. So let's go back really quickly and look at who they've lost. Rebecca Sananis, I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right. She was hired in July of 2021 to produce the Spotify podcast Archetypes, but then was replaced by Serena Reagan. She quit as the head of Archwell Audio after 18 months and left in December of 2022. And Anna Diani, who was at Archwell, where she was supposed to oversee the day-to-day operation, she was there for less than 18 months. And I reported previously that Harry and Meghan were taking credit for some of her stuff. She's an attorney. You go, girl. Tanya Holness, who holds a degree in strategic PR. She went to work for them in October of 2020. She was then promoted to oversee PR on both sides of the Atlantic in March of last year. She said she wanted out after having to fulfill many great functions for the couple. Catherine St. Laurent stepped down after 1 year. She was the chief of staff and executive director of the nonprofit from April of 2020. Next up, Natalie Campbell, who is a diversity campaigner, was supposed to run the Sussex Royal, and she worked with Meghan on that cookbook, for the Hub. She was there less than a year before she ran off. Sarah Latham, she left in March of 2020. She was the former director of communications, and she was part of a group of 15 people who apparently lost their job with Megxit. She used to work for Barack Obama, and she was hired during the rift from the Sussexes to the Cambridges. There's Clara Loughran, who's from New Zealand, who used to work for William and Catherine. And then she was handed the role as Harry and Meghan's project manager and then lost her job. You have Samantha the Panther Cohen, who was the Queen's assistant private secretary. She was going to leave the palace. I'm not going to give them this one because she was going to leave the palace and she agreed to stay on to help Harry and Meghan, but they were so nasty to her, she ran off anyway. Next up, you have Amy Pickerel, who was supposed to take Samantha's job. She quit. She was the former Treasury press officer that was with Harry and Meghan when they did New Zealand and Fiji and Tonga. I think she got a taste of what it was going to be, so she said she's leaving. We have Jason Knopf. Do we really need to discuss him? We know what happened. Both he and Christian Jones jumped ship and went back to work for the Cambridges. Smart move. Melissa Tubati left after 6 months, saying that the Duchess had left her in tears with her demands, and she quit. Also, we don't have a picture of her, but in January of 2019, one of the Royal Protection Officers quit their job. She was protecting Meghan. Also, you have Deputy Communications Secretary Katrina McQueever, who apparently left Kensington Palace very quietly in September of 2018. She was the key liaison with Meghan's family, Finding Freedom, Omid Scobie, and Carolyn Durand. Yeah, she was helping with the book. All right, we're coming towards the end here. I had to bring this up. People are online complaining that Charles could have picked any day. Why did he have to choose Archie's birthday to have his coronation, procession and stuff? Well, you see what I wrote. That's the date that King George V ascended to the throne. That's also, just FYI, the day that Princess Margaret, married her husband. It's got nothing to do with a little kid's birthday. But interestingly enough, last year on Archie's birthday, Harry was off playing polo. What's the difference? I don't get it. Next up, the Wanton Wench put this on Twitter. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect. Interesting. She asked if the Prince of Darkness was suffering from this. For those of you who don't know what it is, here's a little description for you. You can freeze and read. Yes, I think he might just have that. And finally, Jimmy Kimmel. I told you that the late night hosts are taking the piss out of Harry. Okay, so he apparently did a thing where he put into Google how to return. First thing that came up said a package to Amazon. Second thing that came up said a cable equipment to Spectrum. And the third thing that came up was Prince Harry to the UK. It's true, I swear. And lastly, this comment just ripped at my heart when I saw it on Twitter. I didn't need Prince Harry to tell me a woman who urged for sanctions against apartheid South Africa and a man who refused to introduce his award in a country while the apartheid regime was still in place weren't racists, but they died thinking that people thought they were. Spot on. So you guys know I want your comments. Make them good and leave them below. Don't forget to double check that subscribe button. If you've already pushed it, just double check, make sure you're still subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that button for me. Don't forget to go into the description box where you'll find the links to Twitter, Getter, Rumble, my email, my Patreon account. We're still fundraising for this month. Any money you put into the coffee phone goes towards our fundraiser. And don't forget, money put through the thanks button comes to me. And as always, you guys, have a great day.